Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to continue going through and ranking all of the Treehouse of Horror episodes. This video is the B tier, which means that they should be pretty good now. I mean, these are all, I would say, pretty good. That's like... And it's funny too, because there's already like one or two where I'm like, oh, why did I put that up here? But anyways, one thing that's really interesting is that I can basically remember all of these episodes, and that shows that, they're so much better than the ones at the bottom that I can't remember at all. You know what I mean? So first off is Dead Ringer. I thought that this was a really good parody of The Ring. I've never actually seen The Ring myself, but I thought that this was a lot of fun. It was pretty funny, and I liked how it played out. I thought it was one of the better movie parodies. Next up is Send in the Clones. I'm not a huge fan of this episode. I know that a lot of people consider this to be like a classic, but it was kind of funny. I think that, like, Homer, like, he has just had everything done to him. He's been cloned. He's been, like, made giant. He's been made small, I think. He's been turned into a toy, a jack-in-the-box. He's had every single thing done to him in existence. And this is just a classic example of that. Next one is Reaper Madness. This is where Homer gets to play Death. And I thought that this was a very creative episode, a very creative idea, and I liked it. The next one is School is Hell, and I really, really liked this episode. I thought it was perfect, even though this is one of the later ones and it feels kind of sanitized. I really love the idea of Bart being in hell and being like this really, like he's like this, model hell person who's just like coming up with all the best punishments for people. It's so perfect for his character, and I thought that it was a really good one. Next up is How to Get Ahead in Debvertising. I thought this was kind of an interesting story and kind of a good idea. I've never seen Mad Men, but I did like this episode from what I remember. Next up is Life's a Glitch, Then You Die. The thing that I liked about this episode, because I know this is kind of a controversial one, it's the Y2K episode. What I liked about it was the ending. It was the part where Bart and Homer are on this airplane for like all the worst people on Earth. And it's just like a montage of cameos from like the worst people that they could think of. And, like, you have Rosie O'Donnell and people like that, and they all started to sing at the end, and it was just so funny, and it was such a genius idea, and it just felt so mean-spirited, but just so good, Next up is The Monkey's Paw. This is obviously where all the Simpsons get to, do what they want with a monkey's paw type thing, and, it's just like with The Monkey's Paw, where, there's always like a twist. If you have a wish, there's like some sort of a catch to anything that you wish for. And I thought that this was a really simple episode, and so that's why it's kind of like in the middle of the B tier, because it's just very simple but good. Next up is Into the Homerverse. This is another one where you could kind of argue that it could have been better, and also it's not really a horror episode. However, I enjoyed it, and I liked the idea, and I liked seeing all the different versions of Homer. And, I do think, though, any episode that isn't horror-related is automatically a downgrade, because when you watch Treehouse of Horror, you're watching it for horror. I mean, it's called Treehouse of Horror. It's not called Treehouse of Sci-Fi. Next up is Starship Poopers. I didn't like half of this episode, but I really liked the part where they were on, I think it was like Jerry Springer, and I thought that that was really hilarious. I know that a lot of people don't like this episode. Next up is Bad Dream House. I thought that this is the first ever Treehouse of Horror. I thought it was a classic episode. It's very simple but very, very good. Like, I could even see myself putting this higher on a better day. Next up is the Ned Zone. I am literally drawing a blank on what this episode is about, which is pretty hilarious. And then Master and Cadaver, I am also drawing a blank about. Next up is Ghost Dad, which I am also drawing a blank about. So, I guess there are a couple that I can't really remember in the B tier. And then Survival of the Fattest, that was kind of like a play on The Most Dangerous Game. And I thought that that was kind of fun. It was like a reality show type thing. And I thought it was also mean-spirited and fun in like a nasty way. And I liked how everything played out. Next up is Night of the Dolphin. I thought that this was a genius idea. I mean, Lisa, you have her love for the environment and for animals. And I just loved how that was, like, twisted against her in this episode. Like, oh, okay, you want to let all the dolphins free? And then they all, like, kill people and take over the world. Like, it was such a great idea. And I really appreciated that, like, they were willing to go there and say, like, no, like, Lisa, like, what if Lisa was wrong about this and the dolphins, like, killed all of us? I love that. Next up is 4 Beheadings and a Funeral. This is also kind of not really horror. I mean, it is horror, but it's more of like Sherlock Holmes type of thing. But I really loved this episode, and I loved the style and the aesthetic, and I really felt like I'd love to see like another like Simpsons episodes where it's like a Sherlock Holmes style, because this was a lot of fun. Next up is Hell to Pay. This is a fantastic episode. It's all about this wig or this toupee that like kills people, and because it was the hair of like the serial killer. And I thought that this was like a really, really solid episode. Like this is definitely one where like I would have been happy with this being a Treehouse of Horror segment. You know what I mean? And then lastly for the B tier is Easy Bake Coven. This is all about the origins of Halloween and the origins of witches. And I thought that this was really well done, and I really loved all the clever little twists that they did. And I loved how the witches were not the good guys at all. Like, even though, like, in every single, like, witch trial thing, it's always, like... Well, I mean, it was kind of a mixed bag here. Like, everyone was bad, basically. But, like, I loved how it became, like, the origin of Halloween. I thought that that was so creative and so fun. And I loved the style of the episode, too. So, I will see you for part 4 or 5. No, I think it's 5. Bye, everybody.